Nick, now that we've actually heard from both sides, how are we characterizing this meeting? Is it one that was productive because we don't have a ceasefire?
Right.
And it doesn't appear that the President of the United States will be deeply involved in these talks from here.
Right. I mean, I think for Europe and for members of Congress who have supported sanctions, this is going to be a disappointing readout in some ways, because what it looks like is President Trump is hopeful that there's going to be progress, that there is going to be some sort of outcome. But so far, Vladimir Putin hasn't committed to anything. I mean, we talk in the Truth Social post about negotiations for a ceasefire starting immediately. There have been conversations about a potential ceasefire going on for weeks and weeks, and the idea of a ceasefire does not seem to be all that difficult to do. You just stop the fighting. So I think the initial impression from some of the folks we've spoken to is that you again see a situation where President Putin is looking to string the U.S. along, draw out a process, and keep up the fighting in Ukraine.
Well, and it's worth pointing out that we did see talks in Turkey between Russian and Ukrainian officials, though they were quite low level. Vladimir Putin, of course, himself did not show up. Zelensky was willing to meet with him, but wasn't going to go if Putin did not attend. So even as the president says, Russia and Ukraine will immediately start negotiations, how much does it matter, Nick, who exactly it is that's showing up to the table?
Right. I mean, a lot of questions about who they would send and who is empowered to actually make commitments from the Russian side, for example, but also what is the true interest and outcome from Russia? Do they actually want to stop the fighting? I mean, based on the events of the last couple of days, no. It was a massive drone barrage in Kyiv over the weekend, very deadly and one of the most intense in many months. So they are determined, it looks like, to continue the fighting. I mean, the issue you see here is one where Vladimir Putin, it would almost be in his interest to play for time, because you have a lot of unresolved questions about where Ukraine's munitions and weapons are going to come from next. Are they going to come from the U.S.? Is Donald Trump willing to send more weaponry, push another supplemental through Congress? In a lot of ways, Vladimir Putin can say, we're just going to keep doing this till you guys run out of weapons and munitions, and then you're going to be in a weaker position to negotiate.
Vladimir Putin's got his own audience at home. To what extent does it embolden him or help him politically, domestically, to appear to be stringing along the United States?
Well, I mean, it does help him. I mean, to have this conversation with Donald Trump, there's a lot of concern. What he really wants is that one-on-one, mano-a-mano, equal time with Donald Trump, and that's certainly what he gets here. And then you see a truth from the president that, at the very least, is not negative.
We're going to
towards
be
Vladimir
partners
Putin.
again.
I mean, is saying basically he's, let's get this done. This is a big deal. They're on equal terms. There is no criticism or pressure or leverage being exacted on the Russians, and crucially, no mention of sanctions. So it doesn't feel, from what the limited readouts we've had so far, that President Putin is under much pressure at all.
Yeah, in fact, President Trump describing the conversation, the tenor of the conversation, as being excellent. The tone and spirit of the conversation were excellent. He said, if it wasn't, I would say so now rather than later. Read into that how you will. But to your point, Nick, on no mention of sanctions in this post, is this a testament to the threat of sanctions, which President Trump said he was willing to impose? Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary today, said everything would be on the table in that regard if Russia isn't playing ball the way the administration wants. Is this a testament to sanction threats working or not?
Well, I mean, very initial impressions here, of course, but to me it is a suggestion that President Trump does not believe the sanctions threat is necessary. I mean, he seems to be signaling that there's progress here. They're moving in the right directions. He's not going to want to spoil that with a potential announcement on sanctions. He's not saying progress or else. He's just saying, hey, we're doing it. These guys, the process is launched, and suggesting that his phone call with President Putin is the reason why the process has begun, when, of course, there have been conversations back and forth via intermediaries and then directly, as you mentioned, in Turkey by Russia and Ukraine, but so far, no ceasefire.
What do you make of the Vatican involvement here? I have to admit, it smacks of the optics that you would think Trump would really like.
Sure. I mean, I think at
does
this
it add
point,
to the drama or the urgency around this? What does it bring to the conversation?
I mean, in the theory of throw spaghetti against a wall and see what sticks, why not? I mean, the UN has been essentially discredited and frozen because of the clash in the Security Council between the U.S. and Russia. There is some concern about, if the U.S. is the mediator, whose side are they really on, as evidenced by President Trump's truth. So if you have a truly disinterested / impartial venue, the Vatican, why not? Let's give it a shot. New Pope, new day. Maybe there is a way under which you could get the parties in a room together and there might be slightly less mistrust. I don't know. I mean, it's just another notion that's out there that in the past you wouldn't have even heard about, I think, but in this sort of radical transparency where President Trump just broadcasts everything from truth, now we have to contend with it. I don't think anyone really has much idea what that means right now.
Well, amazing.
And finally, Nick, President Trump gives a number of specific shout-outs in this post to people he spoke with after speaking with Vladimir Putin on a phone call. Vladimir Zelensky, Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission, the presidents of France, the prime minister of Italy, the chancellor of Germany, the president of Finland. How important is that everybody got together, all of the allies of Ukraine, if you will, spoke immediately after he got off the phone with Russia?
Well, I mean, the question is what was actually in those conversations and what was the tenor? I mean, the European leaders are deeply uneasy with President Trump having this one-on-one call with Vladimir Putin. They just say, for one thing, there's no need, and it would seem to serve Putin's purposes of splitting the U.S. away from Europe. So we're really going to need to see what came from those calls. If President Trump went to those and said, okay, don't worry, if we don't see progress by such and such a date, we're going to impose sanctions, well, that's one thing. If you went to them and said, go stuff it, we're going for this thing, progress is continuing, but out.
Yeah.
A much different. They're trying to telegraph unity there, but it's hard to tell if that goes any deeper than the surface.